Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CEO Delta Airlines, Ed Bastian, in discussion with Skift editor Airline Weekly, Madhu Unikrishnan.
We're going to make it free.
You will make it free.
We're going to figure out how to do that.
Because Robert Isom ducked that question a little bit yesterday.
You'll have to ask him about it, but I know our customers want it, and I don't know any place in the world that you pay for Wi-Fi other than an airplane, and the answer is why.
So before we get to that question, the question you know I'm going to ask you, I want to thank you for joining us here today.
Sure, Madhu.
And thank you
Good to be here.
the audience.
Good to see everybody today.
So when am I getting my free Wi-Fi?
We're working on it. I'm going to keep coming to this conference till it's in place. How's that? But you've got our commit. We're working hard with GoGo on the technical features. It's really just a question of technical depth, not economics. Once we're able to turn it on free, we're going free. We're not there yet. I will say that GoGo and Delta working together have dramatically improved the overall performance of Wi-Fi on our planes. The 2Ku performance is substantially improved. We're getting more broadband bandwidth to the planes, and we're opening up new avenues that Wi-Fi connectivity provides. But I'm nervous yet that if we turned it on, it's going to cause system outages, and we don't want that to happen to customers. That's the only thing worse than slow Wi-Fi is no Wi-Fi.
Very true. So can we expect you back here for another year or another 10 years?
Well, I'm going to come back every year that you invite me, but you will have it soon.
All right, good to hear. So your predecessor, Richard Anderson, started calling Delta on earnings calls a high-quality industrial company. And in recent earnings calls, you've broadened that focus. Can you tell us how and why?
It's really the evolution of the industry as well as Delta specifically. And you think back where we were, it was 14 years ago last week that Delta filed for bankruptcy. Wow. Here in New York, September 14, 2005. I was the guy in the courtroom. I'll never forget that day. And you think of all the work we've done over that time. It's hard to think back that far. But we've been working towards improving the infrastructure, the reliability, the performance of the airline to compete amongst the industrials. But as you look at our continued performance and our growth and the consumer response to what we're putting out there, there's no question that we're mentioned as one of the very best consumer brands, not just in the U.S., in the world. We regularly get mentioned with many of the top brands. We carry 200 million customers a year on Delta. The average customer on our planes, the average session length is about 3 hours. So you think about that consumer interface that we have and the opportunities to continue to enable better preference, better connectivity, better personalization of service through technology, and eventually, be seen as a brand that consumers, love because it has such impact on their life, like other great brands that they love and they pay a premium for.
So will Delta be like Kleenex one day when you say, I'm going to fly?
No, we're not going to be. No, I think you're going to see us continue to see us as a premium experience that customers are willing to pay extra to be on. Mm-hmm. Customers are increasingly going on our website, going direct to Delta. Our Delta.com site is one of the top e-commerce sites in the country. We have almost 50% of our travel now booked through Delta.com, so that personalized attention is working. And the best offers and the best opportunities you can always find at Delta.com. So that's what it means to be a consumer brand. We're broader than a transportation company. We're impacting people's lives in more ways than people thought possible.
Well, I wanted to drill down a little bit on that. When you say you're going to become a trusted global consumer brand, at what point in the travel experience does that begin? I mean, if you start. Is it sort of alpha to omega from booking all the way to the end?
The full experience. There's every part of the experience we're working on to enable efficiency, speed, and effectiveness, and really value for money back to the consumer. You think about all the airport investments that we're making. You think about what we're doing to create the very best app for our customers that we continue to enhance. You think about what we've done with baggage services and RFID technology, and people will be able to track where we're going. You think about the partnerships we've created around the brand, whether it's American Express and the great commercial co-brand that we share together, or a partnership with Lyft that people take you that last mile, to your destination. So we've got the ecosystem we're looking at.
What about some of the pain points in the travel experience that might be beyond an airline's control? For example, the airport experience.
Yeah, so we're investing heavily in the airport experience. As we all know, the airports were built for the 1960s, traveler in mind, and we need to create an airport infrastructure for the next 50 years going forward. Here in New York, we've got the biggest project in Delta's history, which is the rebuild of LaGuardia Airport. Delta's doing that ourselves. We're doing that on our own balance sheet. This is not something that the Port Authority is doing for us. We're doing it ourselves. And as a result of that, we're going to have a lot more effectiveness in the design and management of that facility going forward. You're going to see a streamlined security queue, leveraging biometrics and technology and facial wherever it makes sense. You're going to see the plot of the airport change. In the old world, everyone came to the airports to marvel at the works of art in the lobby space. When was the last time you hung out in a lobby? The first point of entry most customers want to go through is the security checkpoint. And you think about all the queuing challenges we have at the gate area because of lack of space. Being able to put that space, to put chairs, to create a more hospitable, a warmer space to allow people more time to board without all the commotion that many times we wind up going through. You think about what technology can do through amenities. The technology can streamline. We can identify crowd movements through light sensors. And there's just an enormous value. Wayfinding. We got great wayfinding and opportunities to recognize customers from all different languages and all different cultures kind of coming through our airport system. So I think the airports, to me, are really ground zero over the next 5 years. If you say, what I'm most excited about for the next 5 years is that we're going to be done in large measure with that airport infrastructure in New York, both at LaGuardia as well as JFK, at LAX in Seattle, Salt Lake City, Minneapolis we're modernizing, Atlanta we're modernizing. It's going to be a totally different ground experience to match what we've done in the air with the new fleets we're flying.
Well, that's a good, what are you doing for the passenger in the air? Like how is this new focus on the consumer, or not new focus, this renewed focus on the consumer manifesting itself in the in-flight experience?
Well, one of the things that we're doing is we're investing in our fleet like never before. This year we'll take 80 new airplanes. That's a pace of progress that we're going to continue for the next number of years. So we'll have probably at least 1/3 of our mainline domestic fleet modernized by next year. It's not that far off. We've launched we're launch customer on 3 new platforms in North America just in the last 18 months with the Airbus 350, the Airbus 220, and the Airbus 330neo. And we're going to be launching the 321neo on Delta next year, coming. We've spent a lot of time on the aircraft understanding how consumers can see better value for money. We've brought the price of first class way down to make it affordable for people to afford to pay for it, as well as to be used as a loyalty reward. Introducing Delta Premium Select in our international business cabins to give people more business comfort on a long wide body trip. Comfort Plus, optimizing the space, and so we want every customer, whether it's a basic economy customer who shops only on price, or someone that values all the amenities, is willing to upgrade their experience at Delta to feel like we get this great value for money. You think about the airlines, it's one of the ultimate marketer's dilemma. You've got 200 people sitting within 40 yards of each other getting the same basic service but paying price points at all different levels. And by the way, also using different currencies, because we've now created the opportunity for us to use our Delta Sky Miles as currency for more than just trips, but to purchase items or purchase upgrades, and then we've had a lot of success on the app with that as well.
And about sort of the passenger experience, you're sort of bucking the trend now and actually putting more seat back entertainment on your aircraft.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, it's what I said earlier. It's Wi-Fi connectivity and making it free is important, but it's also important that customers have entertainment. You think about, again, that option, the 200 million customers a year with an average, session length of 3 hours, and you think about what's going on out in LA and Hollywood with all these huge distribution fights with Netflix and Hulu and Disney and AT&T, and everybody's converging, looking for outlets, looking for opportunities for content to be displayed in different distribution arenas. We have it on our airplanes. Could our airplanes eventually be seen as a flying movie theater? I'm not sure that we're ready to go all the way to that length, but we have opportunities to bring great value. So we are bucking the trend. We firmly believe people want to be entertained with Seatback TV while they're using their PDA to work or to email or to catch up in life, just like we do at home. We have multiple forms of media that we're being surrounded with. And what's made it that much more interesting for Delta to deploy this is we've developed new wireless IFE technologies. So we actually in-house are building those seatback entertainment screens and modules without the wiring, so it's without the cost to the airplane, so we're actually able to install them at almost a third the price that we were paying previously.
Can you explain the wireless IFE technology for those in the audience who may not know?
Sure. So Delta Flight Products, one of our own companies, has designed a seatback entertainment system that's triggered off of the Wi-Fi system on board the internet within the plane itself. That gives you access to the library and all the movie content as well as the live TV that we display. And so when we have a problem with a seatback TV, it's not like we have to knock a whole section of a cabin out. We just have one screen that we might have to replace or establish. We don't have all the wiring complexity, not just the weight, but more importantly, the cost and the burden of maintaining that system all the time. And so that's enabling us to advance in that. We now have over 700 planes with the IFE content, the seatback screens, and every plane that we're taking going forward is going to be wireless using our new technology.
So that means there may not be a box under your seat anymore?
There won't be a box underneath your seat.
That's great. So you made a little news today. I want to switch gears a little bit. You made a little news today. You will be addressing CES in Las Vegas next year.
Yep.
The first airline to do so.
Yep.
So this is sort of Delta's debutante ball, as it were, as a technology company. How are you positioning the company, and a transportation company that has historically been seen as a transportation company, rather? How are you positioning yourselves as a technology company, part of that industry?
Yeah. So we're going to be one of the keynotes at CES this year. It's the premier platform where innovation and technology from around the world come and see what's happening. I did speak last year as part of the IBM keynote. Ginny Rometty had invited me to participate in hers, but this year we're going to have our own first airline ever to keynote CES. And the theme of our topic is going to be putting the C back in CES. When we were there last year, walking around, it's very electronic oriented. It's all a lot of shiny objects, a lot of futuristic thinking, less so about the consumer. And we're going to talk about what that technology means to the consumer and the innovation we're bringing to create a better experience in the future of travel. Something that is close to all of our hearts. It's something that we all do on a daily basis. Some of us, travel is more of a lifestyle that we work, we maintain life because of travel. It's what brought people here to this conference together. Without air travel, you wouldn't be able to create the experience that you're creating on stage today. And technology can make it much simpler. It can make it more easier. I still hold on to the notion that travel is a magical experience. How you transport people and transport minds and transport opportunities. And in the deregulation of the industry, the democratization of travel, which has been great because it's made it available to the masses, we somehow have lost a little bit of the magic. And so we have the opportunity to not only have the great airports and the scale that we have, but bring magic back through technology and making the trip easier. I mean, just small things like Clear. Delta was an early investor in Clear several years ago, which we provided to all of our premium travelers, and how that changed the experience.
This is biometric.
The biometric security through TSA, and how customers, just tell me how much they love Clear because it took that security queue off the table. It was one less thing they have to worry about. It was one more thing that gave people time back into their life. And I think there's a lot that we can learn from a small example on a much broader application. So we're going to be creating some announcements. I won't announce it here, but we'll need you to come see us and watch us. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, congratulations once again for
Thank
the
you.
first airline at CES.
Thank you.
I wanted to switch gears a little bit to talk about sort of the responsibility companies have in society and corporate social responsibility. You made some news last year, or you took some heat last year, and United did as well, for taking a stance on sensitive political issues, with, in Delta's case, canceling some discounts for National Rifle Association members. Just a few weeks ago, Walmart's CEO also took some heat for dropping the sales of some kinds of ammunition in their stores. And recently, 145 CEOs signed a letter to the government asking for gun control. This is a new place for CEOs in the last few years, and it's not a comfortable place, I understand. But what are your sort of thoughts on companies being seen or looked to as sort of the moral authority in the country?
Well, it's an interesting challenge, opportunity, depending on your perspective. And you're right, Madhu, it's not a comfortable place to be. Growing up in corporate America, we're taught not to create enemies. We want everyone to love Delta. We want to take everybody of any political persuasion or background or ethnicity. And unfortunately, in today's world, that's just not possible. I mean, brands have values. Companies have values. They're not my personal values. They're my company's values. They're the values of our culture. And when you know your values as well as you do, and you know who you are, that gives you the confidence to speak when you see something going on that while it may be societal in nature, but is in direct conflict with what you're trying to accomplish and what you stand for. And that was the reason we took the stand on the NRA, removed those discounts, and we supported the kids at Parkland getting to DC to march and rally for their voice to be heard. It wasn't easy. It carried a big financial penalty. The state of Georgia had a $40 million tax hit to us, and that's still being batted around as to whether that tax hit's going to stay or not. But fundamentally, it was the right answer for our company, for our culture. The other thing about today that's different is that we don't have a whole lot of time to think about this stuff. Right. You can't go off and have a board meeting to decide what you're going to do, because time speaks as much as the decision. And to be a leader, and I think where I'm going with all of this is that corporate CEOs, for one of the first times, are being seen as a voice of leadership, authenticity in our country and in our world, higher than politicians, higher than many other traditional speakers. People are looking to corporate America to lead and to have a voice. And our people, our customers, our employees want to know what we stand for and where we're going. And so as a result of that, it's become part of the job. And I don't take decisions lightly. I am not a social activist. I am not trying to kind of get a point of view expressed. Some CEOs are. Mm-hmm. But for Delta, we want to make sure people know what Delta stands for, and we're proud of it.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, you're being seen, not you, but all CEOs are being seen as sort of the voice of moral authority. But that comes at a really big, potentially financial risk. I mean, it could alienate not only politicians in your case, but half your customers. Yeah. How do you come to that decision, and how do you respond to?
Well, as I said, I think you have to be very careful in the topic that you choose to engage in. But if you know who you are, and for us. I'll give you an example of one where we took a decision, one we didn't take a decision. The NRA, there was a discount. Given the awful rhetoric that was surrounded the Parkland aftermath. So there's no reason we should be having a discount for the NRA, and it wasn't something that we want. So we removed the discount that was seen as anti-NRA. Actually, we're not. We're trying to actually move ourselves, but that was very clear to me that we needed to do that. Earlier this year, the Georgia legislature approved Heartbeat, the legislation, the abortion. Anti-abortion measures. In Hollywood, a lot of film producers said their talent is no longer going to fly to Georgia. Georgia has actually surpassed California as a leading source of filmmaking in the country. And talent is saying they're not going to Georgia anymore because of that on that social issue. And some Hollywood CEOs spoke out on the topic, said that it was wrong for the state of Georgia to be implementing that. So when I was asked that same question, it wasn't something that was terribly relevant. We all have personal viewpoints on it, but it wasn't relevant to my business itself because we already live in Georgia. We got 35,000 employees in Georgia. We're not going to leave Georgia, right? So it was something that I chose not to take a stand on either way. So I think there's, we're learning as we go, but it's something that's not going away.
Right.
And given that we're going into the political season, presidential race next year, I think it's going to be probably even more opportunities to sort that out.
It'll certainly be interesting to watch. So let's take a few audience questions.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, this is a fun one. When you fly,
You want me to ask them, or do you?
do you frequently sit in the main cabin? And if so,
I frequently sit in the main cabin. I have to me, it gives me an opportunity to engage with the people on the plane. Honestly, up front is nice, but it's boring. There's a lot more activity going on behind the curtain.
I'd take a little boredom, frankly.
To me, it's a lot more interesting. But more important than any of that, it sends a signal to our customers and our people that the best seating on the plane should go to our best customers. And I don't pay anything for my ticket, and so I am up front occasionally. But I prefer to have our better paying customers sitting up front, and I like to observe what's going on in the back. I get a lot of stares. I get a lot of people trying to figure out why am I back there. But it's good. It's good.
Does anyone ever ask for your autograph?
Yeah. Came on the trip up the other night to New York. I did. Mostly pictures, but not
Right.
autographs. Aren't
I guess
as popular
I
anymore.
just dated myself.
But it's you still get that. You still get that.
This is from David Kaplan of Camber Media. How far do you see ancillaries going as a revenue driver?
I think that it's going to continue. The diversification of our revenue base is really important to Delta. I was on one of the morning talk shows this morning here in New York, and people were surprised. Delta, we're a Fortune 100 company, almost $50 billion of revenue. We are in the top quartile of fastest growing Fortune 100 companies for the last 2 years. And so part of it speaks to our industry, the desire for travel and adventure and curiosity. People are traveling at rates that we haven't seen, despite all the divisive rhetoric that's going on in the world at large. People are going and seeing, exploring, and adventuring more than ever. But it's also the growth of our revenue stream, whether it's our American Express, great partnership we have with them with the most valuable co-brand card in the country, whether it's our MRO in Atlanta, where the third-party MRO, it's already $1 billion business that's going to double in the space of the next few years.
That's a maintenance facility.
That's our maintenance facility in Atlanta. Whether it's what we're doing in private jets, what we're doing in vacation packaging, what we're doing in cargo. There's a broad base, as well as what we're doing with premium product, giving people more value to upgrade into product rather than kind of relying on the core ticket price. Less than 50% of our revenues as a corporation now come from the main cabin, which is the first time in our history that we've had that level of diversity, which as people are thinking about the economic times and will we get into a recession, what does that mean in terms of durability to our revenue base? We think, clearly the main cabin is our most price sensitive revenue that we generate, and being able to have a more diversified source of revenue stream is important to the airline.
So here's a Wi-Fi question from Apex CEO Dr. Joe Leader. How did the trial of free Wi-Fi go this summer when Delta trialed its successes, failures?
Well, Joe, it went well. We learned a lot. There were some successes. There was also some things that we found out that we were hoping not to find out in terms of more work needed before we can launch free. But it's every step we take, we're getting better, and we're learning more along the way. So it's people ask me all the time, why is it so complex? You get your Wi-Fi connectivity sitting in this auditorium. Why can't we get it up in the sky when we're actually closer to the satellites? Well, the only thing about that is up in the sky we're traveling at 500 miles an hour. Down here we're just kind of a stationary object. Makes it a little easier to transmit. But we're well on our way, and that ambition that Wi-Fi is going to be ubiquitous, is going to have high connectivity and high capacity capability is still my goal, and we're not backing away from that.
All right, I think we have time for one more.
You're not going to ask me about the MAX.
No, I'm not going to. Well, you don't fly the MAX, correct?
I don't fly the MAX.
Well, there was one question that seems to have disappeared, and that's how you are reacting to the flight shaming movement that it is, and sort of the way how airlines were criticized for their carbon emissions.
Yeah, well, listen, sustainability is, I think, an existential issue and threat for the industry at large. Certainly, it's more in Europe today than it is in the U.S. We are doing an enormous amount in the sustainability, and I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for the work we're doing, and we need to make certain the world knows, our customers know, our employees know what we're doing in that regard. At Delta, one thing we did is that we made a decision in 2012 that we were going to freeze our footprint. So any growth beyond 2012 was going to be carbon neutral, and we've done that. You know, we've grown the airline 25% since 2012, and we've not increased our carbon footprint at all. And what we're doing, thank you. We're doing that through lots of means. You know, every plane that we put into the sky is 25% more fuel efficient than the planes that we're taking out. Removing waste of all sorts, including single-use plastics aboard our cabins and our planes and our lounges and our airports. Working hard in biofuel technology. We announced yesterday that we've got an investment in a company to try to take forest floor debris and have that recycled into a biofuel opportunity out in the Pacific Northwest that we're very encouraged by, that we think if it works, once brought to scale, could eliminate 10% of our jet fuel usage in the West Coast, through biofuel. And biofuels today, as you know, are very, very expensive to blend and bring into our system. So everything we're doing here, and then purchasing offsets. So one of the ways we've got to freezing that footprint in 2012 is, to the extent we have a footprint that exceeds that, we're going out and paying cash and buying offsets in sustainable efforts around the world, whether it's in the Amazon or other places, to make certain that our footprint doesn't grow. And long term, our goal is 50% reduction, from where we were in 2005. So we're doing it an awful lot. I mean, we're about 2% of the world's carbon emission, largely due to our usage of jet fuel. But it is one of those things that, if we are going to have a right to grow and a right to be, the kind of company that I aspire to as a trusted consumer brand, we have to do right by the planet, just not only ourselves or our customers or our shareholders.
Great.
The planet's just an important stakeholder as anyone else.
I'm afraid we're out of time.
Great. Thank you all. I appreciate you being here.